as long as possible. I need to take my glasses off so I can read something.
So excited. That's when you get on distance, when close up.
Camera one, camera two.
Yeah.
Or contacts. This time we'll call the meeting to order. Is there an invocation?
Let's pray together. Father, tonight, before we ask anything of you, we want to thank you for the way you've blessed our community, for the way you've blessed each one of us in this room tonight. We enjoy peace and prosperity in this community when the whole world around us is going nuts. And we thank you for that tonight. And we do welcome your spirit. We know you're here. He said, where two or three or more of you gather together, there I am in the midst of you, and you're here tonight. And so we thank you for that. We look to you as the giver of every good and perfect gift, and may we never forget where our blessings come from. They come from you. And so we acknowledge you as our Father, as our Savior and Lord tonight. Bless you, Father. Guide and direct us tonight as we have this meeting. May we glorify you in it. And may we be instruments of your peace in this community and to one another. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Winster for the agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to public comments. This is a time where citizens are encouraged to speak publicly. We would request that you come to the podium and state your name and address. Please speak respectfully and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a comment? Seeing none, none online. Moving on to presentations, Cloud Core Quarterly Report.
First of all, thank you again for your service to the city of Concordia and all that you do. I want to make sure also that Ashley and Chuck and Christy, are you receiving our signed minutes?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that, so thank you. So our Q1 report that I submitted to you, I like to first start out with where I was on Q4 and what our focus was going to be for the first quarter. And we did accomplish those goals, as you can see. I also was able to take my second IEDC course, moving towards my EVP certification, where I have to have 5 of those classes and able to take that test. And I've completed the second course in February, which I'm very thankful for that support with Cloud Corp and moving forward with continuing my education. The updates for Cloud Corp. So our housing project, I know all of you stay very aware of what's going on with Amy and I working together and with our resource committee and the builder developer meetings. And I've been attending the building project updates, which we have another one tomorrow, but it's very exciting, as all of you know what is going on. Now, as far as the tax credit side goes, we were able to get everything established. When we applied for tax credits, we applied as Cloud Corp doing business as Community Resources Committee. And we've since had to establish Cloud Corp Housing LLC in order to run the tax credits as we need to. So now the point that we've been working on the first quarter is working with the bank that's going to buy the tax credits. And in fact, Friday, we have a 10 a.m. Zoom with the lawyers to make sure everything is in place moving forward with the sale of the tax credits now that Cloud Corp is ready to continue to move forward to make the sale. So things are going good. It's just a lot of meetings, a lot of paperwork. As all of you know, I've continued to do my side of the reporting with KHRC, which is monthly reports. We did also mail out 81 letters to residents in the St. Joe subdivision, giving them an update of what is happening with the project. We also included the FAQ, which that FAQ is updated on the website, as well as the home buyer application. We will have to tweak the home buyer application because now we have the new HUD out for 2024, so I'll have to update that as well here. But that's what it's gonna continue to be, is just continue updates. Super excited still about this project moving forward. Workforce recruitment money, so we were awarded that in October. It's a process to try to figure out where we wanted to target the money with our team. And in Q1, we actually had two $10,000 offers on the table. We weren't able to allocate those out. Those offers were declined. We currently have two offers out on the table. We currently have one successful allocation that just happened in the second quarter. And I have been out talking to our Cloud Corp faithful supporters and donors, telling them about the workforce recruitment money, and that's kind of where we've decided to start. Unless, you know, there have been conversations that have reached out to me about it as well. I sometimes have to take my questions first to Northwest Kansas EICI to make sure that that's what we can allocate money out to. And if they give me permission to do that, then I take it to our local team and then we move from there. The e-community loans. So we have given our 8th loan that happened in the first quarter, January of 2024. That was a $45,000 loan. And the exciting part is they were the last one to be able to get the 30% grant that was connected with the Patterson Foundation through Network Kansas. I'm super excited to report that when that 30% grant came out, Patterson Foundation had said there would be $500,000 until that runs out. Well, our 8th loan in January was one of the final ones, and Cloud County alone in that $500,000 of grant availability secured $90,900 worth of grants, which was 18% of that 500,000 just in Cloud County. So we felt very successful with our e-community partnership in securing those loans. 2023 was a total of $258,000 worth of loans. And like I said, our first one went out in January. We're hoping to see another kind of incentive come out that's attached to some possible grants with loans moving forward. Network Kansas is continuing to send updates as we move on. And we have a conference in May where we get together and learn about what's possibly coming for 2024. Our Get in the Cloud grant, I did go submit an application on March 11th to the county commissioners, asking them to consider funding the program again for $150,000. And we're just waiting to hear back. There are a lot of people already preparing and having a lot of conversations with me about the Get in the Cloud grant. In fact, I just had another one today. So I highly encourage everyone that's interested to apply first round, because the last 2 years that I've administered the grant, the funds have gone out in the first round. We did have 7 people take the small business development classes. We offered them in March and April because that is part of the Get in the Cloud application if you're a new business startup. And of the 7, 6 of them were Cloud County residents and 1 was Republic County. We also had the car wash. They had just a mini kind of groundbreaking. They called me and asked me to come out, and I, was able to take pictures. And as all of you know, that project is underway as well. I'm super excited for that to take place. I also wanted to give you an update on the Federal Home Loan Bank grant. That was that $750,000 that Kim had secured. And when she left, we sent that project to North Central Regional Planning Commission to administer. And I do have a list of, there were 79 eligible homes in Cloud County that were completed. And this was an updated list that Connie Sear had mailed out to us. So that was definitely successfully administered within the timeline that was required as well. Any questions on those updates? I did list a lot of the meetings that I've been involved in. when you go down to state site submittal, I do want you to know that Daryl Hosey's airport property, I have successfully listed that now on the Cloud Corp website as a possibility. Daryl had contacted me and wanted to get that up on our website, so his site is now available. And we've been working with Daryl, to try to get that site submitted as a possible place now that the college will be moving out.
Nikki, question on that, is it rent or sale or both options considered?
Well, he's gonna take a little bit of time, so he may need someone to even let him rent, but
Gotcha.
he wants to sell the property.
Cool, thanks for.
Yep. The Kansas Main Street program, I also highlighted that. Cloud Corp became an affiliate, and that means I can attend quarterly meetings. And I started that in September of 2023. The Main Street program has been around for a long time. I started attending so I could start learning more about the program. Scott Sewell is the Kansas Main Street Director, and he's scheduled to come and present to our Cloud Court Board in May to talk to us more about this program and possibly moving forward for the city of Concordia. Community visits and involvement. I just put a few notes about our Cloud Corp annual luncheon and the trade show. We did have 240 plates served that day. We had 100 people that voted our trade show event, which that is awesome. And you can, like, our Network Kansas people, like, that's great that you connect it to a luncheon like that, and it's over the noon hour and that you have that high of attendance, especially 100 people that actually voted for the trade show portion of the event. 10 teams competed, and I did try really hard. I had the teachers on board, the superintendents on board, and Network Kansas on board to fund our schools to take 2 buses, or even 1 if we needed to partner it up. But Network Kansas was willing to pay for a bus driver, the gas, substitute teachers, and then the kids would have all had a free meal to go tour the Kansas Entrepreneurship Challenge that I attended yesterday. Because Louis Van Meter competed in that. It's such an amazing event, and just what the kids do is so amazing. But Louis's mom did attend, and she's excited because her daughter's getting ready to be a freshman. But we couldn't just get those kids to get on that bus. There's so much going on, track meets and golf tournaments, and Louis actually gave up a golf tournament to compete. And I know it kind of falls into second quarter report, but Louis did walk away with $500 yesterday just for attending the Kansas Entrepreneurship Challenge. So a successful event. We're going to continue to work with having the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge in Cloud County, and hopefully it'll continue to grow over the years. Second quarter focus, as I mentioned, we're still working on selling those tax credits. It's ready, it's in the process, it's just all coming to the agreement and finalizing that. We're gonna be working on our 10th year of the Get in the Cloud administration. Our CDBG CBR funds are being administered. We currently have 4 businesses, and I know all of you, just a brief reminder, Concordia could not qualify for that funding because of the revolving loan fund, but we did receive $140,000. We have 4 businesses that are currently taking up $120,000 of that, and we have until October. So we just have basically 1 more business to get a project. So we're going to continue to try to find that business. Donor visits is my next focus, and I have started that. I have a packet that I've been taking and having face-to-face conversations with our faithful supporters. It does have our FAQ and our home buyer application, which I do tell them it's online. But I did leave the hard copies, and then our workforce recruitment incentive package and the application process for that as well. So super excited to continue to move forward with second quarter and come back and give you that second quarter report. And something that was exciting that happened in first quarter that will be in 2025, I put in a request for proposal to host the Western CREDA, so it's Western Kansas Regional Economic Development Association. So Concordia, we will be hosting that in March of 2025, which is a little bit of ways away, but super excited that we were selected to host that in March of 2025. So any questions on my report? Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Nikki. Moving on to our discussion agenda, the Community Activities Center.
Mayor Commissioners, last time we visited this was about a year and a half ago. And we had talked with several community members that were interested. The pickleball players in particular brought this forward and said we would like to do some kind of a community activity center. Since that time, we've had some discussions with the school district about potential partnerships. Even since that time, conversations have continued informally along with the original committee from the strategic doing sessions. And the scope of the project really hasn't changed from the community perspective, as far as needing some court space, needing some open space, wanting to have the elevated walking track in particular, and a few other amenities, including something like a tot-lot jungle gym climbing area for some of our younger toddler age kids, as well as I think Chris had some other ideas, some different simulators and different things that we could do to help enhance recreation programming throughout the city. We've talked about a couple of different possible locations that are owned by the city already. Would like to evaluate those further. We've gotten to the point where we're kind of stuck. We really can't go any further without a solid cost estimate for what it would take to build it, possibly what it would take to operate it, and a thorough evaluation of those two sites. And so we'd like to visit with Brenda Gilliland some, and we'd like to ask for your consensus to go forward with a grant application to the Community Foundation to see if they would be willing to provide us some grant funding to engage with the design professional to prepare that basic floor plan sketch, some exterior renderings, do a site analysis with us, and possibly help us out with that operational costing. We could bring that information back to you, and then that would help to funnel then future discussions about, do we want to move forward? Is this the right scope? How do we pay for it? That sort of thing. The renderings and the floor plan sketch that we would obtain from this design professionals engagement would be ones that we could use for future fundraising efforts too. So we're expecting that quality of work. So we'd like to visit with you a little bit about that tonight. Chris Atkins is here, Brenda Gilliland's here to answer questions. Just kind of want to get your thoughts on that and see if that's something that you would support us moving forward with.
Will your design professional kind of do what has been done on different projects in town as of late, where it's community, like the community weighs in? Because we as commissioners and staff all probably have some ideas, but in order for it to have some more broad community support, they probably need to be an opportunity for them to be brought in, like a listening meeting where they get to say, you know, we really like to see pickleball, you know, and then rank it and just make sure there's some buy-in that way.
I think that's a good idea. That's something we hadn't talked about because we were just kind of basing our conversations on what we had heard from that strategic doing group and just informal conversations around the community. But I do think that's a good part of it, something we can ask them about, yes. Chris or Brenda, do you guys have anything to add at this point at all?
No, I think it's just a point where, I mean, this has been talked about for 5+ years. There's a lot of wants. We don't really know where to go with it until we get some of those more estimated numbers, site possibilities, something like that, and to be able to engage with another professional. Kind of the next step to see where we can plan if it's really viable.
Right, if we go,
Let's
not
go.
just where we go, but if we go, yeah, because we can't go anywhere if we don't know if we can go anywhere. So that's the idea, is to see if there's even a chance that we could go anywhere.
Cost of something like this.
We've
I
been,
mean,
the estimates we've been given are somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000. So like if the basic cost we imagine would be toward that lower end, if we engage and ask for an analysis of what operational costs would be, it would go up slightly. If we ask for those additional community engagements, it's going to go up slightly.
Like both of those things are pretty valuable if you're doing an evaluation. Like long-term costs and even just upkeep and stuff as well.
I think that's a big part of the conversation. I think that's where we always get really hesitant on our part, because that does add ongoing expense, and that's a big decision for cities. And again, we're just looking for, if you guys are supportive of us proceeding with a grant application to see if we can get that design professional funded. If we can't get it funded with a grant, we can talk again about it at budget study session later on this summer and see if we can put that into the CIP budget. But if we can work towards some grant funding, I think that might be a good exploratory option, and then see if we can go from there.
I think that'd be a good first step to get us off center.
Mhm. And I think that there's been a lot of input from the community or certain members of the community as to what all this could contain. I think it would be either the information that we would get from being able to have an engagement with the community, would it be validating that we are on the right track, or it would help include an idea that maybe we haven't thought of, which would help flesh out the idea. So I think that having that be a part of it. I just think kind of when those who were smart enough to start working on the Broadway Plaza, set the tents up, and I just remember that and talking about all the different ideas that could be included. Not all of them were. But it definitely, I think, one, got people excited about it, but it also helped feel like that. So I think that's really gonna be an important part of it. It's hard for me to think that would increase the cost that much for what we're doing. And I would honestly think if it was me that was putting this together, I'd want to have a pretty good idea of what I was putting together. So I think there'd be a value to them in putting this forward as well.
Well, there's a value in letting people know they have input, whether they give it or not, they have a chance. It makes it easier to pay for something.
In my professional line of work, I find there's tremendous value in people just knowing that they've been heard.
Right.
And that's where we've talked a lot of conversations. I mean, this thing can go 100 different ways, and it can always be tweaked along the way, but we don't know where we can even start at till we know the costs and stuff like that, and then upscale, downscale, vary it.
Well, and I think that if we were to engage the community, there'd need to be some kind of, that this is very preliminary, and this is really just about getting things started. This isn't, picking out hardware that we're gonna put in, but really just looking at getting things moving forward. I think to get off center, it's an important conversation. We can keep talking around it for a long time, but without this information, we're kind of just stuck. I don't like being stuck.
We can visit with, like I said, we will visit with one design professional, so we can kind of ask you to see maybe how much that might cost, that can inform them as we apply for the grant. We'll go from there. Anything else to add, guys? Or-
I don't know that there's a real time frame, as far as, how soon you want to do it, just simply informational. The foundation accepts grant applications every month, except June. And so we have April and May, and they're due at the end of the month. And then it takes about 20 days until we have the results back. And so the new year, of course, would start, that's why it take June, so that it would start over the new year with new money and so on. So, and again, I'm not trying to push, I'm just saying that's how we work, and that would be the time frame if you're wanting to get something right away, if you're wanting to do something.
Thank you, that's helpful.
I don't see any reason to hesitate too much before we submit a grant application if we're gonna do that.
Yeah, I would say go ahead.
Yep. Thank you.
Appreciate you bringing it. Moving on to our action agenda, the minutes of the April 3rd, 2024 meeting.
I move to approve the minutes of April 3rd, 2024.
Second,
It's been moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, second by Commissioner Hatch to approve the minutes of April 3rd, 2024. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to appropriation ordinance number 7.
I move to approve appropriation ordinance number 7.
second,
Moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, second by Commissioner Wentz to approve appropriation ordinance number 7. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to ordinance 2024-3219, temporary camping in City Park.
Mayor and Commissioners, we are again pleased to host the 50th anniversary tour of Bike Across Kansas. We've got Brian Tobin and Tom Tobin here in the audience, available to answer questions or share a little bit about the program here in just a minute. The purpose of bringing this forward to you tonight is because our parks do not allow camping except at Airport Park. It's the only park that allows camping. The way that this program is set up and how we'll serve Bike Across Kansas overnight is that a portion of participants will be sleeping overnight in the high school gymnasium. And then a portion of them like to camp, and the logical place for them to do that would be across the street at City Park. To make use of those bathhouse facilities and the other facilities that we have available, plus the ground's a little bit flatter, and a little more conducive to putting up tents, so that makes a little sense. So we'd like to ask for an ordinance that would allow for temporary camping in City Park for the night of June 12th. To allow this event to happen smoothly. We've talked to Chris about leaving the bathhouse open a little bit later than normal. We also intend to offer them a night swim, kind of a swim party to help celebrate their time here in Concordia. Chief Gearing's offered to provide some additional patrol in the park to help make sure that everybody stays safe and does what they're supposed to do. The participants will be here and will depart that day. Got activities planned for them downtown. Those are still being refined. And then the next morning, then they'll take off and head to their next destination. So it'll be a little bit short, but anticipating about 750 people to converge on the city for that 24-hour period. We're very excited to have them. So Brian, if you guys want to come to the podium and add anything.
Amy did a great job, and I appreciate, we were here a couple of weeks ago, met with Amy and some city staff, school district staff, Cloud County tourism staff. Everybody is pulling together. We appreciate the hospitality. As Amy mentioned, this is our 50th anniversary. So we are coming from Lincoln to you and leaving you to go to Frankfurt and then Holton and then into Atchison, where we will conclude our ride, starting in Tribune. So our first day of the ride is the 8th and we finish on the 15th. I'm excited to come back to Tribune. Looking forward to the high school and the park if it's available to us. And so just here to answer any questions if you have them.
I guess my only, thought or concern about that, is just to make sure it's publicized that that's temporary. For, so that people don't see people camping in the park and think, oh my gosh, I didn't know you could camp there and start setting up tents every weekend, So just to make a point to the community to just make them aware that it's for this specific event.
Yes, the language of the ordinance is very specific on 10 a.m. on June 12th to 10 a.m. on June 13th. So it's very specific 24-hour period. And it's also very specific to only Bike Across Kansas participants and their support staff during that time frame. So yeah, we can make an extra effort to publicize that to draw attention to those two pieces.
So I don't want to make any presumptions, but would a later checkout time be, or if somebody has the fortitude to be bicycling across Kansas, that maybe they're up and going by 10 a.m., but.
So I will tell you the vast majority of the 750 will be out of here before 8 a.m.
Okay.
We will hand over the proverbial keys to the school and have the last of our equipment out no later than 9 a.m. because I have my officer of the day will be in Frankfurt by 10 a.m. because that is our moving caravan, right? So out at 9, it's about an hour down the road. We get there and we start setting up the next 24-hour cruise.
Wanted to give you all the time in Concordia that you wanted to have.
We may have some people lingering downtown, grabbing breakfast, coffee shopping, those kind of things, but they will be out of the park because our Penske trucks that haul all of their luggage, they pull out at 9 o'clock. So if their tent is still in the park, they have to ride with it. And I promise you, that's not going to happen.
Fair enough.
On that note, thank you so much for picking us and putting us on the route. This is very exciting and it's going to be so great for our community.
We appreciate the hospitality.
Might add that the Susie Haver and Michelle Lombardi with Cloud County Tourism volunteered to be our community champions, and they were working really hard to make sure there are some fun activities, some great pie, and plenty of offerings for everybody to enjoy the community. So
Got to reload those carbs for the next day, right?
Absolutely.
I think when we did it one year and most of the restaurants we stopped at, I think one time ran out of food on Thanksgiving, like they would, because we just, everybody eats.
So everybody eats, it's eat across campus.
Yeah. Very glad to have you.
Appreciate it.
I move to approve ordinance 2024-3219.
Second,
Moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, second by Commissioner Wentz to approve of ordinance 2024-3219. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Appreciate it. Moving on to mower bids.
Mayor Commissioners, when I spoke last meeting, I was hoping to bring back some bids on a new mower for the Parks Department. We had sent out 3 bids to all local dealers for a front mounted mower. Got 2 bids back, but neither one of them matched the specs of being a front mounted mower. And then the third party, flat forgot. And that's actually, what's on the company that, our other mowers are right now. The front mounted mower, as I described there, is very vital. Just the maneuverability, cutting in and out of the stones, especially at the cemetery. Cuts down on a tremendous amount of the weed eating part where we have to go back and, weed, so all that saves time and effort on our staff. Also reach out under trees a lot easier. So, talked to both members that, submitted bids, and both of them had the same responses. I didn't realize it was a front mounted spec on the bid. Budrose with Hustler, they don't even make one. He said that can even compare to anything else, so that's why he doesn't even usually submit bids for a front mounted mower. And then Prairie Land Partners, he said the same thing. He didn't realize it was a front mounted deck, and I haven't seen one, but he says he's got an option there. So I'll revisit him after today and see what, if anything, he has available. And then if he does have an option, we will plan to send out, rebid it, if they do have another option. But obviously, after tonight, I recommend rejecting both these bids and then continuing our search for another front deck mower.
So,
Why did they both say yes?
yeah.
They both said they're.
Both say they have,
No, I think they were reading the 72-inch
Front.
capability of the side discharge more so than the word front. Is what I'm guessing. I don't know, like I said, Hustler doesn't even usually bother submitting a bid for the front end of deck. He said, just, we can't compete with it, so. Yeah, I brought that up to both of them, that both
Okay.
checked yes, and both said no.
It does make a
Please.
lot of
I
sense
didn't
to have the,
realize it.
I'm sorry, it does make a lot of sense to have the front mount, for your guys' purpose, but something else that I guess came to my attention recently about some of the like, equipment that we purchase is just to make sure that it can be serviced here in town too. Not just purchased, but also serviced, and even if we have to get it elsewhere, to be able to have the ability to service it here locally. So,
I mean, that's a big perk that the company does. They, I mean, all three of them, they're pretty good about coming to you on any problems. But these mowers, especially the ones we have, it's a lot safer working on them for our staff. The front deck tilts up on its own, so you don't have to jack it up and then put blocks and jack stands under it, cable and a winch type thing. So they are a lot safer, easier to work on. Both from our parks department and our mechanic have expressed that. So.
One of the things that Chris and I talked about too, there's a provision in our purchasing policy for sole source vendors. I know when we typically think about that, we think about that as a very specialized piece of equipment that basically like nationwide you couldn't get except for one person or one company. In this case, our goal with any vehicles or mowers or pieces of equipment is if we can shop local, that's really what we want to do. And so our goal with sending out bids is to make sure that we can get everybody's opportunity coming in, make sure we're spending the money as wisely as possible. There's a provision of purchasing policy that says if we're standardized on a certain type of piece of equipment or certain functionality, we could use that sole source purchasing option. Would the commission entertain, given that our other two companies here in town that deal in mowers aren't able to provide that, would the commission entertain us using that and be able to save a little time by not having to go out to bid again, or would you prefer us go out to bid again?
I think I'd prefer that you go ahead and start talking to them because you've gone out to bid. And
I would think since John Deere is saying that they have one, that we need to give them the opportunity to bid that. I think that there's an efficiency with just finding something that works and sticking with it. I guess, and I don't know, in my mind, I don't know what the dotted line is for the value, but something that is as expensive as a front deck mower, that it seems like it's above that threshold where we should go out to bid. Just to keep those positive relationships there and to be good stewards of taxpayer money, you know.
Yeah, like I said, if they have another option, then yeah, I'm willing to go out another bid. I haven't seen that option in real life yet, so I gotta revisit with, him out there.
Sure.
When, I agree with, rebidding and then within 2 weeks, right, like or whenever, when is our?
Well, I'd have to send out, if we rebid it, even if I send them out tomorrow, they won't be back for 2 weeks and then catch them the next commission meeting.
And you're planning to use this machine this year?
Yeah, and this would be replacing one that's we limped through last year with.
So it would realistically be the second meeting in May before we brought it back to you for review.
And I think we've talked about the possibility if that's our only option for a front deck locally, there is another one that we're probably needing before the end of the season. Cause this one we're replacing, like I said last week, it's not our oldest one. We just have less problems with that one right now. So we may be revisiting the same thing in a month and a half.
And we can rebid it, it just takes a little time, so we might not, get over the parks as fast, we might have a little bit of struggling, but that's okay, or we can do that.
And that's our question is if we're rebidding, sending 3 bids out and no one has the capabilities of meeting it. So, but all that, like I said, that depends on if John Deere is able to show a possibility.
Okay, so, okay, Marcia.
The one that didn't bid,
He flat forgot, it was sealed on his desk. Just missed the deadline.
But do they have a front?
yeah,
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
So there's
It's
essentially
the
two options.
Grasshopper brand. mower.
So
That's what we have now.
I guess I'd be okay with, and I don't know, I don't know how to coordinate this. Since the bids were very clear, right, and they had a chance to turn it in, if it does go out to rebid, there's not gonna be any change in the bid spec, right? So is there a way, I guess, where I feel like time is of the essence is I wanna make sure, Memorial Day is coming up. I think it's always really important for us to have not only our community, but especially our cemeteries in as good of a condition as possibly can be. So I want to make sure we have the equipment that we need to get that job done adequately. So with the bid specs being pretty much what they are, and if John Deere already has that, is there a way to expedite this process without?
Well, that's what we were saying, so if Chris goes back and talks with John Deere and he finds that they don't have a front deck mower option, then could we go to the Grasshopper dealer that we're already standardized on and use the sole source, purchasing language from our purchasing policy and go ahead and purchase that mower? If we find that John Deere does have a front deck option, then obviously we do need to go rebid, because now we know we've got 2 vendors in town that can bid it.
The other, I guess, concern would be the availability and if they have to order it and how long it's gonna take to get it in.
Right.
So I feel like that's,
Grasshopper is on site.
it's on site
And ready to go.
and the John Deere one is or is not.
I haven't seen it in real life, but they even have an option, so I don't know if it's on site or if it's an order, special order. I don't know, that's why he hadn't got back to me on that. So, I don't know if they even have an option, let alone on site or special order.
Researching the front, ones, the Grasshopper brand was kind of the front runner. It seemed like there was another brand, I want to say it's Kubota.
Yeah, I was one I never.
But that, I don't know where you'd get that service at or a Kubota, or even if there's no dealers around.
And I couldn't search for John Deere one to find it, so that's why I don't know what he was
What it
talking
even would
about,
be.
if he has something, so that's why I started revisiting.
well, I don't have a problem as long as John Deere doesn't have what you need.
I agree with that. If the other sources don't have what you need, then the time is of the essence, like Chuck said, especially, which I didn't consider with Memorial Day coming up.
And bike across.
And bike.
Kansas.
Grass and weeds are growing fast already.
Yeah, I move to reject the submitted bids and return to search for a front mounted mower.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, second by Commissioner Jackson to reject the submitted bids and return to the search for a front mounted mower. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2024-3220, conditional use permit.
Mayor and Commissioner Shane Times here. Shane, if you want to present it to them, I guess, kind of what you're trying to do for.
Does everyone have a site plan picture?
Yeah.
We can send that around. We'll look at that. So it's at 233 East 16th, that's my shop location. And it'll be towards the northwest corner of the property. The area's already been flattened out, so I'm proposing to put 5 shipping containers there for use for myself and to rent.
As we understand it from Bruno's explained to the planning commission, Shane could do this at that area right now to use for his own storage, but because he intends to rent them out for others to use for storage, that's what triggers the need for the conditional use permit. Planning commission had reviewed it here recently and they recommended approval of the conditional use permit. So as Bruno's memo has in here, you've got options to approve the recommendation of the planning commission. You can override them, their decision or their recommendation with a 2/3 majority vote, or you can return it back to the planning commission and have them look at it again, but we've got to give a specific reason for sending it back to the planning commission. Bruno had in here for the conditional use permit, the main condition that he had on there was to make sure that the area was maintained nuisance free, to make sure that the trash is picked up and good and mowed and trimmed. And I know that we know from Shane's other properties that things are very well taken care of, so that's not a concern. Part of the application in the packet too, related to approval of the conditional use permit, is does it fit in with the area, and it does fit in with that usage of the area. The separation between the shop and this usage, 2 residential areas are separated by a street right of way, so that's helpful. And then it is bounded on one side by commercial use as well.
And just so you know, my shop is the building east of the car wash, the 16th Street car wash. If that helps you.
What's the purpose of shipping containers instead of like building a storage facility?
Quick.
And how aesthetically pleasing are they?
I mean, that's,
I mean, are they like every color and it
so
looks
no,
like a circus?
well, they may be when I get them, but I'm painting, once they're in place, I'll paint all around.
So they'll be,
They'll look,
aesthetically pleasing.
they'll look as good as a shipping container could look.
But there's a lot of activity just to the east of you as well. So I mean, I don't know that there's gonna be, I think it's gonna fit well. It's gonna sit down in there.
Yeah, and it'll be easy access and it'll be well lit, so.
Storage in the containers, not around the containers, right?
does there have to be electricity or anything?
No electricity.
I move to approve the temporary access agreement with, oh, sorry, wrong one. I move to approve ordinance number 2024-3220.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Hutchinson to approve ordinance 2024-3220. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
Moving on to the temporary access agreement, NCKMC slope remediation.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is a fancy way for saying that the slope on the, I'm gonna call it the northwest side of the hospital, needs some repair work done to it. This, if you'll recall, we talked about this a little over a year ago. And that sloped retaining wall as it sits right now encroaches onto our existing utility easement. So we already have a permanent license agreement for a private slope retaining wall in a public utility easement. The purpose of this temporary access agreement is that in order to make the repairs, the retaining wall is going to slope a little further, but it'll still stay within the bounds of that permanent license agreement, so we don't have to change that. But when they make the repairs, the people that are bringing in the construction equipment to do the work are going to have to go outside the bounds of that license agreement, which also happens to be within our drainage way, within our flood control area. And so the language in the access agreement outlines what the contractors need to do to bring it back to its original condition, which is important to us as we continue to maintain that flood control area. So we want to formalize that with a temporary access agreement. So if we approve that tonight, that will allow that repair work for that slip retaining wall to occur. And it will also help us ensure that we can get that space back into its current condition so that we can maintain it in good order.
And this is just being done as a fix, basically.
Yes.
So
yeah.
there's no cost to the city in any of the
No.
process,
No,
even
no,
putting the stuff back the way it was,
No.
given access, okay.
no cost to the city.
I move to approve the temporary access agreement with North Central Kansas Medical Center to perform remediation work to the slip retaining wall.
Second,
Moved by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Hash to approve the temporary access agreement with North Central Kansas Medical Center to perform remediation work to the slope retaining wall. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
Motion passes. Managers report. I say motion passed, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Commissioners, last Saturday, I went to the City Leaders Academy in Manhattan, served on a leadership panel. There, and it was about 150 elected officials from across the state of Kansas, many of whom were just starting their service and asking a ton of questions and just learning about the very foundations of governance. So it was really good to have him put that on and help those officials learn and understand just the foundations, everything from COMA to basic finance to just basic elected and staff, appointed staff relations and kind of how different things are supposed to work. Give them some opportunities to network with each other and ask questions. And so it was neat to be able to serve on that, to be able to work with them and also just get a good refresher on COMA, on budgeting and on some good keynote speakers. That was really, really good. Continued work on St. Joseph subdivision. We are in the process of installing utilities right now. We'll have our next progress meeting tomorrow morning, so we'll learn of anything else that we come up with, but so far progress is being made very, very quickly. So while we definitely need some rain, the weather's been favorable for the work that they've been doing. The clearing out of former St. Mary's dormitory building has been completed, and now they're working on filling in the basement and capping the well that's there. So that work should be completed here very soon as well. And then we did get additional grant opportunities for infrastructure. And next week we'll be meeting with a couple consultants on some DIL funding. I think we talked a little bit about that for some of the Highway 81 work or some of the railroad crossing work, to see if that could work there. And then the transportation alternative funding that I mentioned, I think last time that we got preliminary approval for, we'll meet with the consultant from Venice to kind of further that grant application that's due here in the next month or so. When we meet with these consultants, they're free of charge unless they get the work, and then they'll come and ask to move forward with designing construction and that sort of thing. But right now they're helping us through the entire very cumbersome process of these state and federal grant opportunities that require that they have become experts themselves in, can lead us through, which is greatly helpful to us right now. And if we can bring in some more grant dollars to help stretch our local tax dollars and provide for additional improvements and repair to local infrastructure, that's what we want to do. So I think we're working toward that. Happy to answer any other questions you guys would have.
And if there is, roads, and, I mean, I assume that would be in addition to those things, is there like a plan of action for what needs done first, second, third? Is there an order of importance of our streets, I guess?
Yes, there is. Shane's been working pretty heavily on that, and he's working to get some estimates, both for chunks for areas that he's identifying as priorities, as well as just some unit costs. So what does it take to mill and overlay a block? What does it take to chip seal or crack seal a block? So we can have those funding estimates, and he's working to get those prioritizations in place. Good exercise for budgeting work as well. Did that answer your question or?
Staff reports?
Wanted to update you guys on the eminent domain proceedings. I think what is important when you make a mistake is that you own up to it. And so we had a slight mistake. When I say we, it was me. What we did was had the entire process ready to go, had the hearing, had all the paperwork, had contacted the guardian ad litem. She was going to, when I say guardian ad litem, she's the individual who represents the unknown party. So if our owners had passed away and we didn't know, and there was heirs or one of those heirs was a service member that was in active duty. She covers all of that. So we had all of our bases covered. We spent a lot of time making sure we knew the last place these folks may have lived so that we could get notification there. Had all of our I's dotted and T's crossed, and I was looking at everything, and there was one tiny thing we forgot to do. And that was put notice in the local newspaper that has to be done for 1 week. So unfortunately, the judge only hears those once a month, so that does set us back, actually not quite a month, because it's at the very beginning of May. So that has been remedied. I'm going to foot the bill on the notification costs for this go around, because that was my mistake. It's a little humbling when you take all the time to get everything done, and the easiest part of it is the part that you missed. So it is going to be published in the Blade. Got that taken care of. I'll republish in the other 2 places because we have a new hearing date. So it only delays it a bit, but then everything will be ready to go. So I did want to let you guys know, because I had updated you last time that we would have the hearing, and I had to break the news to Amy that I made a mistake and had to fix it, so.
I have a question
Yeah.
in regards to that. So did the guardian ad litem, point out the mistake?
No, I found it.
You found it?
I found it because you have, so what happens is when you publicize, I have to file, this is all very paperwork heavy.
Right.
And so what it is, I have to file, they will send me what's called a proof of publication. And they actually take a clipping from the paper and they tape it to a piece of paper and give me proof that it was publicized. So I was scanning that stuff in because that all has to be e-filed. And as I was doing that, I'm like, I feel like I'm missing, oh no. And it was the one for cloud, yeah. It was one of those things I swore I thought I'd done, and then I went back and like, no, we completely forgot to do that. So that was on me. So I am remedying that situation. Our taxpayers won't have to pay any extra money for that mistake, so. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Other staff reports? Chief?
I just thought I'd update you guys. Last Monday, Amy and I met with the Board of Education. It was very favorable for the SRO program, so we're moving forward. The grant just opened up Friday, so I'm digging through all the weeds on it and making sure that we have everything ready to go to apply for that. But I just want to let you know that we did meet with the board. It was a good response.
Give a quick update. We accepted a variance from the Board of EMS for transfer staffing and actually one in class right next door tonight is the first round of students doing that. So hopefully we'll be able to get some transfers out the road and down the road a little bit quicker.
Just want to give a little spring cleanup update. The streets have been fully completed from 1st to 11th Street. I'd like to remind residents that any remaining items from 11th Street north are items that either did not qualify for the pickup or were brought out too late. You may see crews working around beyond 11th Street to the south, but everything north of North Street is completed. And there were several residents with astronomical numbers of tires. So measures for the future may need to be implemented to ensure this public service is not abused. And we are anticipating being done with spring cleanup by the 19th.
It's by when?
Then
The
Friday.
19th, okay,
Yeah.
Friday.
Does Champlin charge to take tires
Yeah, they do. They charge $200 a ton.
a ton? Is that when we take our tires? When you pick them up?
I would actually work the first 2 days picking up tires and after day 2, there was 8.6. Yeah. That's the tires.
Is it your thought that these tires are being brought in from out of town?
Believe so.
Is it worth talking to the homeowner about it?
I've been writing down the addresses. Maybe we can figure something out. try to figure that out. But, you know, we have ideas, but we don't know until we look into it, so. Any other questions about spring cleanup?
Thanks for doing it.
You know, I think about, like, when you drive by and you see how much is out there. I'm glad that it is out there so that it could be going away, or, because I mean, it's significant.
Yeah, one residence, I think, had 64 tires on it. And that's over a truckload. I took a truckload from there and I topped off a truck when I got there to it.
There weren't 16 cars out there.
Yeah.
Hey, that was quick
A
math.
couple of them didn't have garages, so I don't know where they would have stored that many tires, so that's kind of funny.
Those staff reports? Okay. Marcia?
Nothing.
You better have something good, I guess.
I think it's great to see people out and using our parks. I'm really excited that spring is here. It's really fun to hear the pickleballers back after it. Your children playing at the park, seeing the park lights on. Hopefully it sticks around, doesn't blow away anytime real soon, so. Get a little bit of rain, that'd be nice too, but. This time I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Hutchinson, second by Commissioner Jackson to adjourn. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.